Good evening, Captain Greg.
Good evening, CJ Adams.
Talkin Tackle.
Talkin Tackle. We're at the famous J&B Tackle Shop in Niantic. And I wanted to give you a little history about that, okay? Because it goes back, most of you watching this don't have a clue. How did it get to be J&B Tackle? Well, many years ago, back in it's probably the late 60s, early 70s, Jack Doughton, Kerry Doughton's father, they made lures. That's all they made is lures, okay? And that's where they got the J from, was from Jack. And then Butch Eamon was his partner, and that's where they got the J and B from. And then Kerry came along, and he started making the rods. And I started getting rods from Kerry. I known Kerry since we were kids, and because I lived right next door to him. And Kerry would get me rods for my little charter boat I had, a little 26-foot boat, and we'd tear them apart. We'd rip the real seats apart. This is in the early stages. Well, you got to understand, it was in the early stages. And to see the shop now, today, we're in the basement right here, okay? But to see where they've come, J&B Tackle, it's really incredible because they make probably one of the finest rods on the East Coast, wouldn't you say?
I own them for a fact, and I wouldn't buy a rod anywhere else.
I own them too. So if you're looking for good tackle, first class quality tackle, J&B Tackle is definitely it. We're here to talk about a little bit about tuna fishing.
That we are.
When I used to do it, it was so different. I'm going to take the phone from you, CJ. But before, I just want to show you. This is what we used to call a bird. This is back in the 70s and 80s.
Good evening, Chris. How are you?
Hi, Chris. And a gentleman from Groton used to make these for me. And boy, they are just obsolete now. When I see the tackle today and the lures and well, you're going to see what we used, what everybody uses. But this was an antiquated old bird, but we caught a lot of fish back in the 70s. You know, early 70s, early 80s. There wasn't as many people doing it, and there was a lot more fish around. So it was pretty good. But this is just a standard bird. This would attach, for those of you who don't tuna fish, this would attach to the rod and reel, and then this would attach to the lure. You know, we'd drop it back,
trail
10,
way
12
back.
feet, trail back, and this thing would flop on the water, okay? Now, I'm going to take the phone there, and CJ, tell them what we were using and what everybody else uses
now,
here.
Don't get me wrong, we still use birds. That's a given. That's never going to go away. The birds are glorified.
The birds are here to stay.
Yes. Then they come out with some fancy stuff, and I'm not sure why we didn't think of this a lot sooner.
When I look at this stuff today, and say, why the Christ didn't we think of this?
I know. So,
all we had to do was angle that fin. That's all we had to do.
You can see the bird he showed you. Now you look it up here. These are
bring it right down.
Smaller birds, so to say, but now they got this fancy thing right here, and they call this a keel. And so this is basically a glorified spreader bar. So you got your teasers, all your fun stuff, to a trailing hook bait, like you would, like the bird. But see this funny looking keel thing here? Now, when you put this in the water, this thing starts splashing, and this way the keel goes, it brings it away from the boat. So I'll use this for example here.
Go ahead, show
Let's just say you're on the starboard side, you let this out. Well, now, instead of a spreader bar going straight down,
that's the way ours used to go.
That's the way the regular spreader
the old
goes.
ones.
Now with that keel, it brings it way out here. As far as you want to let it back, and it spreads them far away from the boat. And it's ideal for smaller boats that don't have outriggers. Now, don't get me wrong. When we're trolling on, let's just say Captain Matt's boat, or Jake's boat, or other friends' boats, we still put them in the riggers, and then they go.
The spread is tremendous. For those of you who don't tuna fish, you got to understand, every boat's a little bit different, but it's the wake of the boat that attracts these fish. They come up into the wake to investigate it, and when these birds are out far, these trackers are out far, they're in a different column of water than right in back of the boat where it's all white water. So it makes a big difference.
They're making total chaos back there with all this stuff in the water. You can just imagine all these little splash birds here and all these little heads going through the water. It makes a big mess in the water, and that's what these fish are attracted to. And then they see the weak link that's trailing way
the trailer.
Back, and that's what they end up biting. Now, don't get me wrong. We've watched them attack the whole spread where they miss the hook baits and they climb on the other bars and everything.
There's only one hook though. The hook is in the trailer.
But they make all sorts of different spreader bars and wide trackers, and these are adjustable. Some are not. You could pop this little clip out here, and it spins the other way. Personally, I don't use these ones. I like the ones that are fixed for port and starboard because those tend to be the first.
Tell the people that have never done it what one of these rigs is worth.
Well, on the cheaper side, we've lost a couple.
I know, yeah.
On the cheaper side,
I bought them.
On the cheaper side, you're looking at $150, and they can go up from there. So when we break one off,
so when we're towing, folks, when we're towing 4 or 5 or 6 of these behind the boat,
we got some money in the water.
You got some money in the water. Not counting the rods and reels attached to them at the other end.
Like this. I mean, you're looking at a lot of money. That's why tuna fishing trips are expensive as they are. You're using expensive stuff. I mean, you can take a look at some of this stuff and have an idea what it is. This is just a standard jig and rod and reel that we use personally. Talkin 20.
Nice stuff.
Yeah, Shimano Torres. And this is a jig and rod that we jig off the bottom with. And it's very, very popular in this day and age for the tuna fishing. I don't know if you did any jigging when you were back in the 70s, 80s, or 60s, whatever it was.
In my prime, you mean?
I'm sure you didn't have a jig that looked like that.
No.
But this is the fancy
It didn't have a price tag like that either.
It mimics the bait fish in the area. But me personally, I'm going straight chrome.
There's
hammered.
nothing like a hammer jig. Even when we're bass fishing.
Oh yeah.
Overall, the hammered jigs just catch better.
Now, this color here, this is considered a sand eel color, and it's very, very popular. We've had very, very good luck on it. For what it's worth, the jig fishing is a lot of fun. You're not fighting, if you understand what I'm saying, you're not fighting the tackle, okay? Instead of putting this...
It's lighter gear.
Instead of putting this on your hip, reeling in all that gear with maybe a 50-pound fish on the end, now you're fighting this, which you could basically pick up with 2 fingers on your hip to a 4-ounce jig. So understand that you're fighting the fish rather than all the gear now. So it's
altogether different.
It's very popular. It's come a long ways. And that being said, because of what we did over the past summer, we plan to incorporate a couple of tuna trips. Now, it might be jigging, it might be trolling, it might be a mix of both.
Might be bait fishing.
It could be. We don't know.
Every year is a little bit different. We're very fortunate to have the tuna so close.
Yes.
So close.
And I'm sure you had those fish close. Of course, they're a lot bigger than what we're catching now in your day, right?
Well, it was. But, I mean, we went to 50 Fathom on an all-day trip. I mean, it took us a while. I can remember leaving 3 o'clock every friggin' day, but, I mean, the fishing was excellent, Now, everyone's a little spoiled, I mean,
we are a little spoiled.
You go out and catch 3 or 4 fish, and it's like 3 or 4 fish. What the hell is that, for God's sake?
I got.
How about 3 or 4 dozen?
I got a funny story about the wide trackers. So, obviously, we show the boat, and they go away from the boat. Now, when you put them in the outrigger, sometimes it's a little rough, and you could see when we were trolling, they flip over a little bit
yep.
in rough weather. So, funny story. We'll keep it quick. When these things decide to flip over on our buddies' boats, we know what happened, and everybody looks around. They turn their head. They just start looking around. We know it's flipped over.
They don't want to wind them in
because reeling this thing in flipped over is like reeling in a 55-gallon drum full of water.
It's a pain in the ass.
With nothing attached to it. And we all just turn our heads, look away, and I hope we get a bite here soon. And we know it's underwater, but we're not reeling it in. So they have their flaws at times.
when we were canyon fishing back in the 70s, we'd always take some new people with us, friends. I used to take a week off, July 4th, and we'd either go sword fishing, harpoon and swordfish, or go to the canyon. And of course, you got all the gear out. You got 8-10 rods out. But when they went off, all the regulars, myself included, would get the hell away. Yeah. Let the novices jump on it and pull.
I've never had a problem with turning the handle. I kind of like it. Something about it.
We'd get the hell away from it.
Yeah, no, I got to start learning how to do that.
We are, like CJ said, we are going to run. I know a lot of people keep asking us why we don't do tuna trips, and there's a reason why we don't do them. I mean, they're very expensive.
You got to get the weather for one.
You got to get the weather. You can't sit at the dock and have a cancellation. We're gonna address that. But my dear friend Ben Rathman, who passed away. I mean, I used to tuna fish in a smaller boat years ago.
You did quite a bit of it.
Oh my God!
You loved it, and you loved doing it.
Well, the thing was, we did it from mid-June through the 1st of October, and Ben would tell me all the time, "For Christ's sake, you got to understand, there's no money in it," and there really isn't. You know, when you divide it all up, and I used to say, "Yeah, but Ben, I like to go tuna fishing." That doesn't make any difference. I like to go tuna fishing too. The money is 2 trips a day inshore. That's all there is to it. You don't wear out an engine. You don't wear out a transmission. You're not steaming. You don't have to get all this exotic. Yeah, but Ben, I really like it. It doesn't matter that you like it.
Point being is why we haven't done, but why we're going to do a couple. You know,
we're going to do a few to the customers that like to go. If it gets good and it's close, we'll probably do it. But there's other boats that used to do it, head boats that used to do it. I won't mention names, but they don't do it
anymore.
They don't do it anymore because it's not worth it.
Yep.
I was talking to one just the other day, and he said to wear out 2 engines, 2 transmissions, forget it. Not doing it. But we'll do a few of them.
We will, and you're welcome to bring all your gear. I know a lot of you guys that do this stuff have your own stuff. You're welcome to bring your own stuff. If it's the right stuff, sure. If it's not, we got the stuff too, and we'll make it work. Hopefully in the future, and hopefully we'll put a couple more tuna fish on the boat like we did last year.
That was a bonus for those who didn't know.
Yeah.
Tell us how we had them. Just explain how it happened.
We wasted.
I've never, in all the years that I've been in this business, I have never seen them fish on the southwest corner of Block Island. That's all there is to it.
I got another
12 feet of water, 15 feet of water.
Somebody saw our videos and everything. He texted me, a good friend of mine. He says, "Where are you catching these fish?" And I sent where? And he says, "All right, stop BSing me. Can you give me the real stuff?" And I said, "No, I'm being serious. This is where the fish are." He didn't believe me until he went and caught one the next day. But pretty incredible to see those fish there. Never seen.
Remember when I was there and we did the video? I finally told you. I said, let's do a video. There's nobody there. We had it to ourselves for a week.
We did, and then
10 days, and then we put the Facebook on.
Ignore.
I don't know. It says potential spam.
Yeah, they call all the time.
Really?
I think, yeah. We're still going.
It's still spamming. Should I hit the?
I don't know. They call.
But anyhow, we did the live Facebook, and then the next morning there were 15, 16 boats.
There was quite a few.
So a lot of people that might not fish on the Black Hawk, but they follow the Black Hawk.
They came fishing, and they caught them too. But quite an experience to have those fish where they were. Probably will never happen again. If it does, great, so be it. But it was kind of an added bonus for the porgy sea bass trip.
We spent 45 minutes, maybe an hour. We'd catch 3, 4, 5, 6 fish, and then go sea bass and porgy fishing, cod fishing.
It was a nice little bonus.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for everybody, and it's not for everybody. So if you're into tuna fishing, we're going to do a couple, but...
if you need help, if you've got a small boat and you've never done it, stop in at J&B Tackle. Talk to Kyle, talk to Carrie, talk to one of them, explain how big your boat is, what you're going to do. They'll set you up in the whole thing. But it certainly is fun, great to eat. They certainly pull a little bit.
They do.
And it is a lot of fun. There's no question about it. I'm not saying it isn't fun. I'm just saying it's not for every party boat.
It's not. No, it's not.
But that said, it is fun. CJ, great job. Great job.
You as well.
Geez, you get me excited just thinking about it.
Well, spring is upon us. The boat's being worked on.
We're going down the boat tomorrow. Myself and Captain Matt are going down the boat to Directors tomorrow. We're going to, in fact, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to pull the starters off. We're going to pull the alternators off of everything. And we're going to take them and get them looked at and just make sure that everything is A-OK. Anything that needs any kind of maintenance, not that there's a problem with them, but we don't want to have a problem with them. So every year we take them off and get them looked at, get them checked, get them cleaned up, get them lubricated, whatever has to happen. But
very good.
Okay, my friend.
Keep you guys updated. We'll stay tuned for next week. Any topics like you want to talk about, feel free to give us a ring and let us know. From J&B Tackle,
CJ Adams,
Captain Greg DeBrawl.
We'll see you, folks. Thank you.
Guys.